freshman familiarity. We've previously done Deshaun Womack and Ashton Stamps. A lot of you really liked hearing about Stamps, the three-star corner from Archbishop Rummel, a local product who could see a lot of playing time this year for the Tigers. But today we're giving you a 2-for-1 because I'm going to be honest with you, I could not decide who to pick. And they're two guys that play the same position, tight end. Now, why did I pick tight end, and why is tight end important, and why are freshmen in a position to play this early? Well, here's this. LSU apparently wants to run more two tight end sets this year. And you can't run two tight end sets unless you got two guys out there you could trust. So Mason Taylor's your one, of course, the All-American tight end who had a huge freshman season as a receiver and a blocker. You need to find a second option, though. I think they have those options. We'll get to that in just a second. On top of that, we've spoken about this a little bit. I think LSU's got a lack of potent receiving options right now. They got Malik Neighbors, but Brian Thomas, Kyron Lacey, Aaron Anderson, etc. I'm just not too sure who that second option is. So why not find it a tight end if you can? And you've got to improve in the red zone too. And tight ends are really crucial for the red zone because obviously the field shrinks when you get inside the 20, and it's harder for receivers unless they're running in-cutting routes or they got one-on-one matchups on the outside to find ways to catch the football and score touchdowns. But tight ends, they could be run blocking. They could fake the run block and run a route. They could just straight up run a route and split out and catch a pass. Tight ends are so important in the red zone. They're security blankets for the quarterback. And last year, LSU was 49th in the FBS. That's out of 130 teams or so. In red zone scoring percentage, 86%. That's not very high. This is what matters to me. 65 trips to the red zone, only 11 passing touchdowns versus 36 rushing. Now, I get that because Jaden Daniels is a dual-threat quarterback, and LSU had a good stable of backs last year. But I want to see if they can convert some of these missed opportunities because they had a lot of missed opportunities in the red zone. Fourth down stops, turnovers, settling for field goals even. They had 9 field goals in the red zone last year. Can they convert those into passing touchdowns? That's the biggest question for me. Last year, it didn't seem like they had the guys to do that. I think they might have them this year, and they just so happen to be freshmen. So here we go. Two guys. Start with this one. Markway. How about that as a name? 4-star from St. Louis, top 250 recruit per 24/7 Sports. Former Florida commit as well. He's 6'4", 250, and as a high school sophomore was projected as a second or third round pick compared to Foster Moreau, who of course played here at LSU and is now in the NFL and has had some health concerns recently, but it seems like he's doing okay, so good for Foster there. Now, Markway is someone that is described as being a high-floor tight end and a two-way guy. So he can block and he can go out and run routes well, and that's important as a tight end because if you're just a receiver, which our next freshman is, and we'll get to that at this point at least, you know, people are going to be able to know what you're doing. So if you see that tight end of the game, you're like, all right, they're passing because he's not much of a run blocker. But Markway has been the most consistent of the newcomers, according to 24/7 Sports, and can play that two-dimensional game, which is good because we talk about balanced offense. You need a tight end that can be balanced as well. One play, he's putting a guy in the dirt, pancaking him. On the next one, he's running a 20-yard route, catching it for a touchdown in the red zone. That's what you want from a tight end. Markway is interesting, too, because he's got good genetics. His dad played tight end at Iowa, which is, some would say, tight end U. His uncle Steve played tight end at Ohio State. And his cousin Kyle played at South Carolina and won Super Bowl 56 with the Rams and had an excellent career as a Gamecock. So it's in his blood. I'm pretty sure he even said himself, I came out of the womb to play tight end. So not a bad guy to have on your team. And again, he's been known to be the most consistent player at fall camp amongst the newcomers for LSU. So you need that second tight end option if you want to run those two tight end sets. And I think Markway's a guy that can come in and do that well. He's got a high floor, doesn't necessarily have a high ceiling, people are saying. I mean, it's just all talk. He can go and prove everybody wrong if he wants to, but he's a guy to know. I think he could play a lot early in the season, and he's going to get a lot of reps throughout the season as well. All right, another tight end, another true freshman, MorreunPimpton. Love that name. 4-star from Fort Worth, Texas, right where TCU is, so a big recruiting win there for LSU. He was an Army All-American as well. Big recruit just like Markway. They bring in two really good tight end prospects as true freshmen. He's 6'6", 242. Big dude. He's already put on weight, too, since he's been at LSU. Former Vanderbilt commit. Would have been a big pickup for them. He flipped on early signing day. So, again, a good recruiting win and a feather in the cap for LSU. I watched his high school film. He split out a lot at wide receiver. Like, it was almost like he was just playing wide receiver, which is interesting because you see Kyle Pitts do that with the Falcons, and he did that at Florida too. He's not a Kyle Pitts type athlete, but what that shows me is he knows how to run routes. He knows the route tree, and that's going to be critical for him. He hauled in a lot of catches in fall camp. It's being reported. Many of those in the red zone, which is why I brought up LSU's struggles in the red zone last year. This guy could be the answer. They do say, though, that he needs work on his blocking. So we talk about being a two-way tight end, a balanced tight end. Seems like Markway's kind of got the upper hand there. But if you want a guy that can go in and catch a pass and win a matchup one-on-one against a linebacker or a nickelback, Pimpton is your guy. He has flashed just some amazing catches in fall camp, apparently. Like, his athleticism allows him to do some insane things. Like, he has a basketball background, so he can go up, catch jump balls. He's got a great catch radius. Mason Taylor says he's definitely going to be someone that helps his team out this year. His arms apparently go all the way down to his knees. Like, mine don't. Mine go halfway down my legs here. So he's got long arms, and you throw him up a jump ball, more often than not, it seems like he's going to come down with it. So, look, I think another thing that LSU needs to improve on this year, as I said, is that red zone offense. The difference between 3 and 7 points is huge, especially in those big games, like those defining games that we talked about earlier in the show. And Markway and Pimpton, if not this year, at some point in their LSU careers, could be guys that help out with those problems and turn those weaknesses, semi-weaknesses, into strengths. So, Markway, MorreunPimpton, 2 more names to know in terms of LSU's freshman class this year.